After 6 weeks, my 2025 Ioniq 5 is finally repaired. Hallelujah! If this is the first video in this whole saga that you're watching, just a little backstory. I'll leave links in the description below if you want to watch the first 2 videos. But my Ioniq 5's battery pack failed at the end of November. It was dropped off at the dealership. They replaced the battery pack. I got it back, and the battery conditioning system was not working. I realized that while I was traveling for Christmas, and I got really awful charging speeds. So the car went back to the dealership a few weeks ago, and on January 9th, I received it back. So I just got the Ioniq 5 back from the dealership for the 3rd time now. I just activated battery conditioning, and you can see coolant temperature is coming up. So it does appear that it is finally working. Battery usage here, 6.4 kilowatts. Definitely looks more accurate than it did in my previous update, where it was basically showing no battery care, even though this was showing that it was running. So this last time around, when it went back to my rack Hyundai in Arlington, Massachusetts, they had it for a total of 4 days. And here is what they found. High voltage battery preconditioning inoperative in DTC P1BA500 set. Upon diagnosis, performed continuity inspection from BMS module connector to high voltage junction block to ensure proper wire integrity from BMS module to battery heater relay. The wiring was okay, so they performed resistance inspection on internal battery ground, found 0.3 ohms indicating good ground upon resistance testing. Installed part number 375V2-P1000 heater assembly electric. Removed and replaced battery heater assembly, reassembled bled cooling system, and performed battery conditioning to ensure proper operation after repairs. Confirmed proper operation of level 2 and 3 charging, and cycled battery preconditioning multiple times to confirm repair. And then they say advised customer coolant was bled to best of their ability. However, due to the complexity of the cooling system, it's possible that the system may need to be topped off after several hundred miles and to return if that is necessary. Now, I will say I've done lots of testing since I got the car back, and the coolant level has not dropped, so it's safe to say that there is no need to add any additional coolant for battery conditioning. But basically what they're saying here is the resistive heater that the coolant runs through into the battery pack failed. And my presumption here is that when I got the car back from them originally, and I ran the battery conditioning system multiple times, the coolant was not bled properly that first time, so it was probably sucking in a lot of air and running dry. So that is likely what happened. There was no coolant. The resistive heater probably just burned out, and that's why I never had battery conditioning again. So now that I know that the battery conditioning system is working as it should, the next thing I wanted to check out was DC fast charging. So several days ago, I warmed up the battery pack, got it down to a low state of charge so that it would pull full power, and I took it to Ioniq in Reading, Massachusetts, and here's what happened. This will be the first time that I've charged this since the battery has been replaced at hopefully full charging power, so wanted to run a little test just to make sure everything is working right. Battery min is exactly at 70, battery max 81, so we should rip it up to 255, 260 kilowatts or so. So let's go plug in. I got plug-in charge enabled, and we'll do this little test and see how it goes. All right, so we're plugged in. Charging just started. Nice, at exactly 11 a.m. That makes this easy. And it's saying exactly 20 minutes to 80%, which is what we want to see. Battery min just ticked up a little bit more to 72 and 83. So that's a good sign. Let's watch and see what happens. All right, we're already up to 120. There's 150. Woo, 175, nice. Oh man, there's 200. Again, we started at exactly 15% state of charge. Looks like we're gonna hang out at 202. There's usually a little bit of a ramp up to full charging power. All right, there we go. There's the ramp. There's 245. And it looks like this is where we're going to settle in. as our pack voltage starts coming up. Right now it's at 740. That will also start ticking up. It's already up to almost 247. Should top out over 250 though, so this is a good sign. I'm feeling good that the battery pack is good to go to take it away from the close vicinity of our apartment. We are now officially over 250 kilowatts, so everything is looking good. So we're now under 10 minutes remaining, 8 minutes exactly. It's 11:12, so we're going to hit that 20-minute charging time from 15 to 80%. So a little slower than ideally it would be, but not too far off. You can see right now we're at 160 kilowatts at 65%. Ooh, 11:19, just ticked over to 11:20, so yeah, basically 20 minutes, maybe slightly longer. But we'll go take a look at the charging curve and see what that looked like exactly. So looking at the charging curve, it looks pretty good. You can see 20 minutes and 1 second to go from 15 to 80%. So just a little slower than ideally, because it should go 10 to 80% in 20 minutes. So yeah, I'm pretty confident in saying that the battery is fixed in terms of charging as well as battery conditioning. And the last thing I wanted to check out now is to make sure that the battery capacity looks good. And the reason I say that is because I don't know where this battery pack came from. I don't know if it's brand new. I don't know if it's remanufactured. Hyundai is doing that now. They are taking battery packs out of cars, rebuilding them. I don't know if they're using brand new cells in the pack, what they're doing. This is something I'm going to try and ask them about in the future. I would love to go to the facility that does this and find out how this process works. So in order to check battery capacity, what I did was charge it to 100%, then I enabled battery conditioning to warm up the battery pack, and then I topped it off up to 100% again in my parking garage where the ambient temperature is about 50 degrees right now. It never gets super cold in there, so that was the best place to leave it after I topped it off again. So at around 70 degrees, I got 81.4 kilowatt hours. And this is perfectly in line with where it should be. And this is excellent because last summer when I took a battery capacity reading, I got 81.48 kilowatt hours. So this is basically in line with what my battery pack was like before it got replaced. So that is great to see that I'm not getting a battery that has substantial battery loss or anything. And the reason for that slightly higher battery capacity might just come down to temperature. That battery min was 78.8 versus about 72 here. So yeah, in the end, everything worked out fine. 6 weeks is still a long time to be without my car. So that was pretty annoying. And I mentioned this in the last video, but the XRT had its own issues. I'm going to talk about that in a separate video, so stay tuned for that. But in regard to Myrack Hyundai in Arlington, I'm not going to say that I had a fantastic experience or a horrendous experience. Everybody I dealt with directly at the dealership communicated with me fairly often. They gave me updates on everything. They asked me how things were after the fact. One of my biggest pet peeves is poor communication. I personally pride myself on the communication and customer support that I provide to my customers, so I expect that from other businesses as well. I kind of went over this in the last video, but it kind of annoys me that I originally told them, do not give me the car back until you verify that battery conditioning is operating properly. Hopefully this whole thing was a learning experience for their technicians, that you have to cycle the coolant through the battery for an hour and a half to make sure all the air gets out, because that is ultimately what caused the car needing to go back for a third time. I did ask Myrack to resolve the grease stain that their technician left on my light colored headliner. When I got it back the third time, they didn't fix that. And I said, I'm not dealing with this car going back to the dealership again. So I just used some cleaner and a rag and cleaned it up myself. And I think it looks perfectly fine. So I asked them to do that. They didn't do that. So I guess that's a knock against them. Now, something that keeps coming up in the comment section on these videos is people saying, oh, I'm going to avoid Hyundai cars because of this. I just want to specify, because I don't know if I've made this clear enough or not. This specific issue that I had with my car was due to a manufacturing defect with early built US Ioniq 5s in 2025. New Ioniq 5s should not have this issue. And even if they do, it's covered by the warranty. Nobody's paying for a new battery out of pocket here. So if you were on the fence about getting an Ioniq 5, I really don't think that this should play into the decision. If anything should play into the decision, it's the fact that 2025 Ioniq 5s still are having ICCU failures. So that's something to consider, but I'm not going to tell you guys whether you should or shouldn't buy a car. Do your own research, determine what your level of risk is with possibly getting one of these cars. So I think that does it for this battery replacement saga. Just in time, because I have to shoot my 1-year review of my 2025 Ioniq 5 in the next week or so. I'm already past the 1-year mark. I got it on January 13th of last year. And exactly a year from the time I'm shooting this video is when I started driving it back from Colorado. So expect that video soon. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell if you want to be notified when that comes out. Just like with my other videos, if you become a channel member for as little as $3 per month, you'll gain early access to all of these videos, as well as a 10% discount to my store. And speaking of my store, be sure to check it out, ioniqguy.com. I've got all sorts of accessories for the 2025 Ioniq 5. I've spent a lot of time recently taking some new, better quality photos of some of my products, so be sure to go check out the store. Again, www.ioniqguy.com. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody.